Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about the struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. I've got a bit of a different episode for you this time around. Normally, I try to give you some very practical, very simple things to take away to go implement now. But I've had some internal thoughts. I've been listening to a lot of stuff, and I've been reaching out to my guest today to have some discussions around it. And I wanted to bring that to you because there are some things that aren't as clear and black and white as we would hope and love them to be in our hopes to keeping life simple. There are some things that just require some discussions. What we want to do today is bring you in on a discussion and get you thinking about something that you might want to take away to your team, or you might just want to reflect upon yourself, or just, say, you know what? No, thanks. Don't want to deal with that one right now, but wanted to bring you in on this enlightened discussion. So my guest today is Jenny Barkan. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you very much, Kristina. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, thank you. So Jenny's been a guest before, but Jenny is a leadership coach, and she works with teams and leaders and is an amazing coach. I have been able to participate in some of her programs and I have loved them. So she definitely gets me thinking a lot. So welcome, Jenny.
Yeah.
So because you've been on the show before, do you want to just give us like a little update on, what's going on with you? How are you doing? And
doing well, enjoying finally first warm day of the summer.
Yes.
Right? Busy with the coaching skills for leaders program that I finished writing with the collaboration last year, and I put two cohorts through that. And feedback, you were one of the participants, right? So
yes,
feedback was great. So it's a second edition already.
Oh my goodness.
Bunch of smaller and larger projects. So I hope the recent developments will not stop people thinking that leadership is something we can't put on the back burner. Whatever happening, we need great leaders now more than ever.
Absolutely. Definitely. So awesome. Well, I know I love the work you're doing. So keep at it, because I think we have the same mission to get excellent leaders out there to make workplaces better and life better. So yes. All right. So I'm going to introduce our topic today and then we'll jump into it. So we're going to talk about masking in the workplace. So I'm going to have you, Jenny, explain just a little bit about what is masking in the workplace.
So in simple terms, masking is when people feel they have to be somebody else at work in order to feel safe. So they pretend to have some personality traits that they don't really have, but they feel they have to exhibit them in order to be respected, to be heard, to be even like belong, right? To be the part of the team. And it's because it's not who they are. It's not their authentic them. It's actually very damaging. So when we pretending that being someone we are not, it drives us, our energy resources down very quickly. But we have to come back to the next day and the next day, right? And next week, etc. So it causes a lot of stress and anxiety. It can cause even depression or burnout. It's psychologically very, very demanding process to pretend all the time to be someone that you are not.
Awesome. It feels like I know it can definitely come into play in many other places in our lives as well. It's really, we mask to fit in wherever. Like my most prominent thing that I think about it is like most teenagers trying to mask something about themselves. But I want to.
Teenagers might be a little bit different because teenagers don't know who they are yet. So it feels sometimes it's like a wearing costume just to feel, is it fit or not? Is it feels right? And then to go to the next, to the next, to the next. masking at work, when we come into the workplace, usually in our early mid 20s, we know who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have some stable personality, and that's what masking, why it's so energy draining, because we know who we are, and yet we're trying to be someone else every minute of every day.
Yes, yes. So, what I wanted to do today is have a discussion around masking in the workplace versus having a culture in the workplace and values in the workplace, and really almost a concept of we should fit in to a certain box, yet too much trying to fit in, it creates this masking, or it creates this feeling to need to mask, and it squashes the diversity of thought and ideas that we want in the workplace. So let's jump into this craziness.
Yeah, it's a tough one for many reasons, I think. And you're absolutely right. We have to, when we come into work, when we're choosing certain organization to work for, so we feel that something is right about that,
Mhm.
right? So we feel that our values are aligned, at least partially, right? The big portion are aligned. So we come into work, and for example, we're finding out that an example is, let's say, curiosity, right? So
Mhm.
the company has a value. One of their values is to stay curious, and I do share this value, but my curiosity personally comes through I'm asking a lot of questions.
Mhm.
Company culture for curiosity is to go dig information yourself first
Mm.
and then come with questions. So that's where I would feel that if I still have this curiosity as my value, then I will do fitting rather than masking,
Okay.
because I might not go jump in and write and ask questions. I will adapt a little bit the culture of the company and find information myself
Mhm.
and then ask questions.
Mhm.
So here I'm still true to my curiosity. I'm still love asking questions. I feel like they valued, and I feel that I'm bringing some value with my.
Mhm.
However, if we would look for the opposite, if I'm not a curious person at all, and I came to company that curiosity is a big thing. So all I'm gonna do to really feel myself like I belong is I would be thinking frantically every time, what should I ask? I have to come up with a question. I have to come with the smart question, the right question. I have nothing like in my head, but I will be stressed. They love to be asked. I have to ask.
Yes.
So that's where I am absolutely masking, right? So I'm coming up with the shallow questions. I'm stressing out.
Mhm.
I'm not listening, just thinking, what am I going to ask? I have to bring the question. So that's a big problem, right? If I need to
Yes.
do it all the time.
Yes, because you're constantly scrambling and now you're stressed over not being you, trying to pretend to be this person that you're not.
Exactly. So for me, I was trying to identify what is it that masking and what is it that just fitting,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
because we still exist in a society,
Mhm.
I cannot bring my true self 100% to workplace because it's not appropriate, right? So especially living here in Toronto, I know we have so many cultures.
Mhm.
So I know if I will come in very like not modest dress to work where people feel very uncomfortable,
Mhm.
that's disrespectful. That's
Yes.
so I'm very comfortable. That's 100% me. But I also know I respect these people. I make them feel very uncomfortable. So I was thinking about it, and for me, it comes that if my value, true core values, are aligned with the company value,
Mhm.
that and I just need a little tweaking,
Mhm.
then it would be fit.
Yes.
So personalities can be different, but the values have to be the same.
Yes.
At least like big chunk of them has to be aligned.
Yes. Yes. What I think really matters, like when I work with teams, I talk about different levels of values. Like you have core values, then you have kind of like pay to play values, which is like, treat people with respect. We're going to be honest. We're going to, like the basics, like we just need to do this, show up to work, like those kind of basic things. And then some like accidental values, but also aspirational values. So what like where ones we're like striving to get to, or like a goal perhaps, rather than a value we inhibit today and we have today. and we express today. So I really think it's definitely about these core values that need to align, because that is the who you are. And when they don't, that's a problem. But I feel like what I've seen is that a lot of companies don't really know their core values. And then a lot of people, myself included, don't, like when I was in my 20s coming in, I don't think I really knew my core values. So between this disconnect, I think that we can get maybe accidental masking because we're just trying to fit.
Yeah, and I can see that definitely accidental or even a little bit intentional if person think that I really need the job.
Yes.
And I like the company overall.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing against my beliefs, right? Completely.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm coming with the thinking that, first of all, I might know my values very deeply myself, or I might be very genuinely believe that I need this job more than I care about some of my values. So that's okay. I will deal with it later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when we settle in the reality, right? So now I have a job, now I have a salary, right? So, and the importance of values settling, like start getting more and more meaning.
Yes. Yeah.
I might realize, oops, I was hoping for fit, but it's really not happening.
Yes. And I think what gets in the way there is that fear now creeps in of, okay, I've established myself like this. Something doesn't fit anymore. Now what do I do? Do I leap and try to find a new company? Do I change gears? Do I just stay and continue covering up and masking?
Huge question, right? And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right that how many times in school or university you were asked, what are your values? Or what do you think you want your values to be?
Mm-hmm.
Never.
No, never. At best, maybe it was like late night conversations after a couple of drinks.
Right, philosophy class major, right? So, and how many times when you see the job descriptions everywhere, now I can see it a little bit, our company values are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, when they describing the ideal candidates, usually the education, the experience, the skills, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So very little about the values from the person.
Mm-hmm.
How then an emergency waiting to happen, a disaster waiting to happen, if company doesn't know what they're looking for and person never identified them,
Mm-hmm.
those mishaps happen all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It is like I 100% fell into it in my career. Like going through university and coming out, like there were coveted companies to get to work for. Like, in my engineering degree, it was like, oh, if you could get into Ford or GM, ooh. And then there was like the tier two, sort of level. And then there was like, we've never heard of this one sort of level. So like you just wanted to be in those places because they were the big names and they were the coveted ones, or like should have been the best job in the world kind of thing. But values never got talked about. And like fit, like you kind of would talk about fit, but it was like, are you a problem solver? Are you, energetic and work hard and willing to put that extra effort in, work 80 hours a week, whatever it might be. And then you end up living this life of doing that, which is fine until it no longer is.
yeah, and I would agree that sometimes it's inevitable, right? So if somebody needs a job or a student, the first job ever, right? If they were offered from Ford, right? So I can imagine engineering student going to GM or Ford. It's a dream come true,
Yeah.
right? So and they might put themselves in a position that and they start feeling that something is not quite matching.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's me. Company has such a reputation. It's such a great place. It has to be me.
Yes.
Something wrong with me.
Yes.
So, and it's, I think, very important, especially for younger generation who, I don't like those, generational boxes. I'm just saying that people lately, all ages, start getting back to what's important for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that first, maybe year or two or three, you can mask, be a little bit not yourself, and it still feels like okay, right? So you don't feel stressed all the time. You're not scared to forget who you are.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it reaches the point that all you think is how to not slip, right, the wrong word or wrong behavior, and you're thinking about work on Sunday night and your stomach turns upside down,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like you're stepping on your own throat all the time. I think before it gets that bad, but you feel it's getting to that direction, it's time to decide what's more important.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it, because it's like at some point you will realize that there's a disconnect. And there are, I guess, a couple of paths. You can say, do I just start to be me and see what happens?
Yeah.
Right? Or do I, just go searching now? In some ways, I feel like it's almost more fair for the employee to say, I'm going to go try to be me and see what happens. Because maybe it is a shift that needs to happen in the organization, or maybe it's actually okay to be something and we just don't think it is.
Exactly. I was thinking that maybe it's a story we told ourselves that if everyone dressing absolutely formally and I have to do the same, I never try to wear jeans and sweater at work. But if I don't, how do I know that it's inappropriate?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about very easy things, right? Like clothes,
Yes.
very superficial, right?
Yes.
But it's in everything. What if usually we bring whatever boss said and no one asking the question, but they would actually appreciate if I would be the one who asked the question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely, it will take guts, right?
Yeah. Some courage, maybe little tiny experiments.
Exactly. And I would even say that to help the employees like that, I would even suggest managers, leaders to assume that there are people who are masking more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a genuine leader that you care about people, you want them to succeed, you want them to
Yeah.
sometimes just wrong person was hired, right? So that's happening. But sometimes people told themselves these stories and they trying to be someone they are not without particular reason, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it on the shoulders of the leaders
Yes.
to have the conversations about that, to come to the people. If you have basic trust, if you don't have any trust, then forget about it, right? But if you have basic trust and respect, and you come not as okay, sit down now, I'm going to ask you about them.
Yeah.
This question. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, definitely not.
I just want to make sure, right, that you are thriving here, not just surviving.
That's a good way to do it.
I just want to make sure that you're good. I care about you. If there's something that you feel that you need to do or say that doesn't really fit with who you are, but you still feel the need to do it,
Mm-hmm.
can you share with
Mm.
me? And then be curious, right? So don't react to someone say, oh, everyone agrees with you at the meeting. I feel like I can't question your authority. If your reaction goes, oh my God, no, it's so stupid. Just ask me whatever you want. That's not a good reaction. But if you say, you know what, I do see that people agreeing with me a lot. Thank you for the observation.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, once in a while, I think I've taken it for granted that people are agreeing with you. And I'm not asking, do you have any questions?
Mm-hmm.
Can you be this person who will remind me
Yeah.
to ask that? Or can you be the one that, hey, I maybe wants to ask something? But it has to come from leaders.
It does.
Show that it's safe.
Yes, they have to make it safe to do so, because there is, like, it is about the leader creating that safe space, and it is the ability for them to start pulling things out and recognizing it. So I think it would take several conversations, like to take your example even further, like after the next meeting, you would then want to go to that person and say, how did it feel to you? Were you able to ask questions? Did it feel like people were holding back to you? I wasn't able to tell, or something like that. Like, just keeping that conversation going, because when you can say something once because you get some harebrained idea and you can say it once, but in order for people to know that you really meant it, you have to follow up, and you have to have that conversation again, and you have to make it, like you were saying, safe to say something and safe to change and put it out there.
And really, maybe more than just saying and following up, on top of that, also exhibit the behavior that you promised.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you said that I want to be asked questions, you ask me questions, And then the person, okay, I took all my bravery in my hands and I stood up and I asked the question, and the boss looks at me. I don't understand where this question came from. Like,
Ooh,
why are you asking me that? That's it. That's the end of, no matter
no
how
one will
many
ever
times.
ask a question.
Exactly. So you have to realize that and be ready that if you're offering something, people will do it.
Yes.
If you're inviting, they will come, and you need to be ready that maybe being asked will feel uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and maybe I won't even know the answer.
Yeah.
But still, you have to say, you know what? Thank you for the question. Never thought about this development. Can we come back? I don't know, tomorrow, and I want to think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that requires the leader to be able to remove their mask potentially as well, because I've seen leaders where they're like, I can't be questioned. I can't have not thought of something because I'm the leader and I'm supposed to have all the answers and be perfect and all knowledgeable.
So yeah, that's like vicious cycle, right? So because if leaders have masks themselves
Mm-hmm.
and they attach to them, they aware of them, attached to them, those leaders won't be inclined to ask these questions.
Yeah.
They won't be inclined to shake status quo. They so much believe in their mask, even though it's not serving them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So more people, leaders who maybe have those masks, but they realize, they self-aware that they're not serving them anymore,
Yeah.
or there's no way to continue this way, they will start recognizing masks, others that would encourage them to try and take it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge ask from leaders, right?
Big time, big time. So the other thing that keeps coming up for me right now is, as a leader, if I haven't noticed it yet,
Mm-hmm.
what is my motivation to rock the boat? It's like, if it's not fixed, don't, or if it's not broken.
You know, it's sort of like a change or a goal, sort, right? And I know any change, any goal, any shaking status quo always comes with price on the one hand and the prize on the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And unless the prize, the shiny thing, the beautiful thing that this change can bring is overweight the price, the sacrifices I will be making,
Yeah.
then it's not gonna work. So I have to, if I'm a leader and I am self-aware enough that masking exists,
Mm-hmm.
then I need to come up for myself first with this, maybe in the physical list, pen and paper or whatever works for you, what I will achieve if people will become real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what kind of price will I pay if it stays the same?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I love that price versus prizes thing.
Yeah, and it's never obvious. The more we think about it, the more we might realize that maybe right now, however selfish it sounds, right? So it's not a good time for the company to start shaking the boat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what situation it would be, right? So, but I am allowing life is so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would be pleased and I would hope that people will still see that if people come as authentic self and they not draining the energy for masking, but
Mm-hmm.
spending it for creativity and collaboration and teamwork and everything else, we still see that the prize is so much bigger than the price of my own discomfort as a leader.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
However, I can see that in some situations it just, let's wait and see for next 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that happening. But if it's safe, no, we're not gonna do it ever because it's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this company's culture is something fundamentally wrong.
Yes. Squeezing into the toxic
Yeah.
end of things.
Yeah.
Like, it, because you're not, if you don't want people to be authentically them, if you just want them to be robots and just do as I say, then we're not getting the best from them. We're not actually trying to create this positive growth workplace culture. We're just, having robots do work. And that's not going to get the best results.
Absolutely not. And I would say people will leave very
Yeah.
often, right?
Yep.
So calculating how much money company would spend for searching and training and replacing people who left with the new employees, the numbers would be catastrophic.
Yeah, big time. But I don't think people necessarily, because you don't see as one mass exodus typically, you'll see, oh, that great person left, and oh, that not so great person left. Oh, but that really great one did. And now that, you just see change over. You're like, is this normal? Is this good? Is this, natural, I guess? But yeah, it's definitely an assessment. So oh, go ahead.
But also, like, invite leaders. I do understand that having company has to have some budget, right? It has to get some revenue. It's what makes company exist in the first place,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It creates a workplace, etc. However, I can't see right now that it's only things that should be important. No matter how idealistic or philosophical it might sound, how we treat people, even those who leave our company, how they remember
Mm-hmm.
the place they work, who they will recommend to come instead of them, has to be on the leader's mind.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see another way to better society. And as a mother, I hope for the better society, right? For
Yes.
my children and for their children, etc. Are we close to a solution? I don't think so.
It's a long road, I think.
I would agree. And I think the main change has to start in when we start thinking about values and masking and all of that. Thinking about that at workplace is too late.
Is what?
Start thinking about people masking and how to fit, etc. In workplace, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's 10 years too late.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
Something has to, it's when we're talks about to bring more women in STEM, right? And all kind of programs came alive for university students, female university students to go to engineering, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 5 years too late
Mm-hmm.
because to become interested in science, it has to be 12, 13, 14 years old girls
Yeah.
in high school who then will creating programs in university is useless if you don't have it in the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Same with workplace. When we're talking about value and fitting into the values and still staying authentic, so authentic to themselves without masking,
Mm-hmm.
we need to start talking about it in high school later.
Yeah. And as parents with our kids, like, what are our values as a family? What are your values? Like, what's important to you? Like, I think about this with my boys right now, and I see them. Like, my oldest is really starting to get some real interests, and I'm like, I see him loving trying to figure things out and trying to, so trying to say, okay, that's important, and helping him to identify that that's a core value for him, is this, or this is maybe not a core value, but like a huge interest. And if he doesn't get to figure things out eventually in his workplace, then maybe he's probably not going to be very happy. So.
Absolutely. And we always saying that parenting and leadership is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many intertwined. And the interesting thing that you might be not a leader at workplace, far from it. However, you have those leadership opportunities within your family.
100%. Yes. Yes. Very much.
So, and we have to stop. Maybe I said myself that it's on leaders to create the safety, right? And invite dialogue and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I have to actually correct myself. We need to start within ourselves and our own values, each one of us,
Yes.
and teach children. And then when it's dialogue at work will be less awkward and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it definitely, we all need
mind.
to start, we need to identify that thing about ourselves, right? Like, we need to look at ourselves first. So practical takeaway, look at yourself, start to evaluate what your things are. But as a leader or a parent or a whatever, we can start slowly trying to bring some of that out in our team or in our children. Sometimes that starting with ourselves and that introspection with ourselves can allow us to identify something where we can be vulnerable, where we can say, I recognize this about me, and I wanted to share that with you, or Mr. Team Member, and just wanted to ask, are you, and like, you can kind of share a little, and it doesn't have to be a big, we're going to look at masking and see who's masking, it doesn't have to be a big project, but it's about deepening that layer of trust through a little bit of vulnerability. But ultimately, it has to start with inside yourself.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, because the more you build those little blocks of relationship, the easier it would be for people to take this mask off. It kind of will be a natural next thing to do, because how safe you feel.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But it has to start somewhere, right? We have to open the circle and put that's the starting point, right? So,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
leaders have a big say on that.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to give everybody some homework.
Okay.
I want everybody, all my listeners, Jenny, you and me too.
Okay.
Let's just start thinking of ourselves, understanding where our value system is, and start to identify, are there times or are there places where I'm not able to show up as authentically me? And just start there. Then dig into why. Dig into, is it me? Is it them? Is it, but start there. Like, what are my values, and am I showing up covering them up sometimes? I think that's a good spot to start. Anything to add to that homework?
I think maybe just do it regularly.
Yes.
Times when we think about values, and we kind of, my family values were that and that, so I just adapt them, right? So why think too much?
Yeah.
So, but the more you think, you might realize, no, that particular value doesn't really work for me, doesn't feel like myself. So I liked at the beginning you said that they're the foundational value, and then inspirational value, aspirational.
Yes.
Value. Yeah. So those might be something that we don't have, but I like this value. I wish I wanted to be mine. So be flexible but consistent.
Yes.
Don't write them down like that's it, that can't change. But come to that once in a while, come back to this conversation with yourself and rethink it again and again.
Yes, I love it. All right.
A big ask. I know,
it's so good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for having this conversation with me, sharing your insights, and getting us thinking about all of these values, about the masking, about how we're showing up everywhere. So I appreciate it so much. Anything exciting that you want to share with my audience that's coming up for you?
Interesting question.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I'm starting this journey with myself to start helping. Usually I was paying attention to companies where we can identify problems and solve them. I can solve their problems, which I'm still doing. And I started thinking about, what if companies have great culture and have great leaders? Are they done? Like, there's nothing to be done to change, etc. And I think that it's wrong. So for companies that have great culture and good leaders, it's tons to be done. And they are good here, but they can be even there.
Yeah.
So if someone is listening and they work for a great company that they feel the culture is wonderful, the leaders are attentive, but it's still the results feels like can be even better. So maybe we can talk. I want to pay attention to these organizations as well now.
Excellent. Excellent. And what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Find me on LinkedIn. It's the best and fastest way. There's an email there, or you can DM me. So that would be. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And to my listeners, thank you so much again. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, like it, subscribe so you never miss another episode again, and leave a review or comment on the YouTube page, because that is how we get the word out to more people. So thank you so much, and we will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.